guys, in today's video we're going to have a go at making a couple of Beatrix Potter characters. So we're going to make Peter and his mum. So I've got a piece of pale blue modelling paste. Now I have just dyed this in a pale blue, but you can buy it ready dyed if you prefer. I've got quite a large piece and I'm just cutting a bit off the bottom. And you can do whatever size you like, depends how big or how small you want your character to be. I've got a little crack in mine, but I'm not worried about it too much because we're going to put an apron on. I'm just squeezing a little bit around her middle, creating a dint for the waist. I'm just going to push that in a little bit deeper. I've tried to get the top of the body sort of slumped a little bit forward, so she's going to look like she's leaning over. And we're just going to put some little crease lines from that centre waist bit coming down. Just using a modelling tool, you can use whatever you like really to create some dints. And then we've rolled thin some white modelling paste, nice and thin. And it's a little rectangle of it that we've just stuck on with a little bit of water onto that top section. Put a couple more creases in. Then we want a slightly bigger rectangle shape for the bottom. I'm just going to measure that against her top. I don't want it too wide at the top. You want it so it meets with the top panel of white that you've put on there. So just stick that on again with a little bit of water, and then we'll add small little crease lines like that. And we want a long thin piece of white now that's going to go around the middle. So just wrap that around the middle, push it into that dint that you've made, and then we want another thin piece to create a little bow for the back. We don't need those little end bits, we just want those little loops. And I'm just going to stick that onto there like that. For the head, I'm going to use some white modelling paste, and we're going to dust it up to a brown colour later on. So I started with a teardrop shape, pressed lightly with my fingers to create some ever so slight dints where those eyes are going to go. And I've just put a little line in over those dints. Got some black sugar pearls that we're going to push in for the eyes. So we're going to push those in across those little lines that we've made. Push them quite deep, and then I'm just going to texture the head just with my modelling tool, just creating lots of little lines so it looks a bit more fur-like. So the front of the face, I'm just going to put two little marks in for the nose, so angle each one upwards, sort of from the centre out, and a little line down the bottom. And we want two pieces now for ears. So I've started with the ball, we're going to trim that in half, and then we're going to pinch them into slightly teardrop shaped. You want a point at one end, a little bit more rounded at the bottom end. Just pushing my modelling tool in just to hollow them out a little bit. I'm going to stick them on so that they're tight next to each other like that. Put a little bit of water to hold those in place. And then just play around with the positioning until you're happy. Now I've made another one exactly the same but slightly smaller, ready for when we make Peter Rabbit. So the first one we made was his mum. So back to her body while the heads are drying a little bit. We want two little fat sausage shapes in our pale blue. I flattened them slightly and we're adding some little crease lines where the bend in the elbow would be and up near the shoulder. I'm going to just push that in place on the side of my body and bring them round so they're coming towards the front of the body. Just two small balls of white for the hands. Just flattened it a little bit and put a little bit of a dint in, which is going to create a thumb. They'll look a bit like little mitten style hands. And I'm just going to push both of those on in place. So while I'm still waiting for the heads to firm up, we're going to make a start on Peter's body. So we've got a piece of white, we're going to make a bit of a cone shape, and we're just going to put a slight indent in on either hip where his legs are going to go. And we're just going to texture the body again with our modelling tool. I'm not going to worry too much about the bits that will be hidden under his jacket. And we want two long teardrop shapes for the feet. We'll just put a couple of little lines in the top ends so they look more like little paws. So they're coming out from the bottom of those lines that we made earlier. And I'm just going to insert a cocktail stick into the body for extra support. Put a little bit of water around the top. If you prefer, you can use a piece of spaghetti so it's edible. Then we're going to dust some colour. So I'm starting with some brown colour on the hands, and then we're also going to dust some brown onto Peter's body. So leave the tummy white, and we're going to concentrate the colour in the crease so it's a little bit darker in that crease. Then we're going to move on to the head. We want a bit of pale pink in the middle of the ears, and that's the same for both of them. And then I've got a slightly paler brown that I'm painting on first. And it's just with the dry brush that we're putting this powder on, and it is edible luster dust. And I'll put links to everything that I use below the video. I've gone over it with a slightly darker colour just at the top of the head and in between the ears. And then I'm just trying to paint gently some of the darker brown into the little gaps in the nose. Now, if you can get away without a cocktail stick on this one, see if you can stick it without. You might have to rest it against something just while it dries. I'm going to give Peter a big round tail. So just a ball of white just pushed onto the back of the bum. And we've got some more pale blue modelling paste, and we're just going to cut a strip off this. So we want it rolled out reasonably thin, and I'm just going to check by wrapping it around him how far round it comes. cut a little bit off the top, a little bit of water in there. You can see where the edible dust has got on the inside of my jacket. It does go everywhere, so do be quite careful with it. I'm going to push this in place. Let's just flick up his jacket slightly at the bottom ends and push it nice and tight around the neck. And then we're going to make him a couple of arms. So I've rolled a sausage shape on this one and we've cut it in half. And we're going to use each half for the arms. So you might want to stretch it out a little bit longer if the arms look quite short. And just stick them on either side of the body. Then we can insert his head onto that skewer. Now it's a little bit tricky for you to see, but I'm just adding his hand, just a little ball of white onto the end of that sleeve. And I've made a long, thin teardrop shape in orange for a carrot. I've just put some lines across it with my knife, and I'm going to push that onto his body with a bit of water, or you can use edible glue, and then we're going to put another hand over the top end of that carrot so he looks like he's holding onto it. Now I'm just going to let that water dry a little bit, and then we'll try and paint on some brown on his hands. So this is just the edible dust that we were using earlier, and we want a little piece of green for the top of the carrot. Just going to cut into that slightly so it looks a bit raggedy at the end. And this is going to be the top greenery part of our carrot. So I've just got that out of shot, sorry. It's just been put on the top end of the carrot there. So I need to let him dry just because it's a little bit shiny where the water is. And there they both are, all finished. So if you do have a go at making these, I'd love to see your photos, which you can send over to me on my Facebook page. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and leave me a comment below. You can see more of my tutorials by clicking on the images on screen now. If you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button to stay up to date with my future tutorials. There are also links in the description box below where you can find me on Facebook, Instagram and more.